How's it going, everybody? It's Keenus Fox here today. It's my channel where I talk about anime, video games, and cartoons, most notably Sonic and Ninja Turtles. And this time around, I'm talking about Sonic, as you can see. But more specifically, I'm going to be talking about his antagonist, his arch rival, his arch nemesis, Dr. Eggman himself in this video and whatnot. So, yeah. So if you probably haven't read the title of the video, if you probably already assumed or might have watched some of my previous videos, you would probably already know that I kind of prefer Sonic X's Dr. Eggman. And I go on and on about Sonic X a lot, but that's because, as a Sonic fan, I feel like Sonic X portrays the characters very well, like how they're intended to in the games and stuff. And I feel like Dr. Eggman is definitely no exception there. But there are people, again, everybody has their own preferences, and that's all good. But some people, even like some of the writers and stuff, kind of write Dr. Eggman to be like this cutthroat, fascist, tyrant, like tyrannical villain that wants to take over the world with an iron fist and whatnot. And he's like, just like I said, cutthroat, does anything by any means to get what he wants, that kind of thing. And personally, I'm just not like really a huge fan of that, And so I'll explain why in this video. Anyways, I've been mentioning, I mentioned in my Shredder video that I wanted to do this video for a minute on Dr. Eggman and whatnot. That I wanted to talk about his character and whatnot from like Sonic X and stuff, because I think he's such a good character inside Sonic X and whatnot. So I'm definitely gonna explain why here. But yeah, even like another YouTuber, the PJ Show, he made a video actually on Dr. Eggman, talking about how how he likes how Dr. Eggman's portrayed inside like the earlier games, inside like the Dreamcast era and whatnot, and then just how he kind of fell from grace and whatnot, and just became a kind of a complete joke. Personally, I don't have any problems with Dr. Eggman, but personally myself, I just think they should probably just retire Dr. Eggman in a way. Like, I'm not saying get rid of his character entirely. I'm just saying at least like maybe retire the character, have somebody else step up, maybe become the new villain or something or whatever, give somebody else a chance. It doesn't have to necessarily be all about Sonic fighting evil robots all the time. There have been plenty of games or some Sonic games where they actually do right outside of this, or where Dr. Eggman isn't the main villain, but that's just me. Anyways, and speaking about other YouTubers, I saw that Satam Sanali fan, he had made a video on me again. So he's bringing back up this old stuff. So, oh yeah, I'm really hyped about that. So don't think I won't be talking about it, because I will. I definitely got some things to say about Satam Sanali fan. Oh, that I can't wait until later. And he's probably watching this video too. I promise you that. But anyways, yeah. So I'll be comparing Satam Eggman to, or Satam Robotnik to Sonic X Eggman and whatnot. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to bring up is the names and stuff. So, as you already know, basically, usually up here in America, Dr. Eggman was dubbed the name Dr. Robotnik, and in Japan, originally his name was just simply just Dr. Eggman, because, well, he's shaped like a giant talking egg. But anyways, so what do so usually a lot of fans kind of have like their own preference as to what, like whether they prefer his name to be Dr. Robotnik or Dr. Eggman. Most people like myself refer to him as just Dr. Eggman because, well, personally myself, I actually think Dr. Eggman's more so a better name than Robotnik. Now, don't get me wrong, Robotnik is a cool name, and when I actually think it's pretty cool and whatnot, and I like how they actually have both names as like, okay, they like went with, okay, well, some fans call him Dr. Robotnik because of the cartoons and because of the English translations and stuff. And in Japan, they call him Dr. Eggman, and then that made its way up here. So they decided to just go with both. So his name, like his nickname is Dr. Eggman, but his real name is Dr. Ivo Robotnik, basically. Which I'm like, all right, that's fair, and that works. So you can call them both to your heart's content, right? So I like that. But personally myself, I always refer to him as just Dr. Eggman and whatnot. I mean, versus just calling him Dr. Robotnik, because I feel like when you call him Dr. Eggman, it's a lot more like, I feel like it's just better than Robotnik in my opinion, because I feel like it's a lot more natural to say. It's a lot more memorable. Because again, Eggman's shaped like a giant talking egg. So like he's literally built like an egg and whatnot. A lot of his machines and stuff are named after eggs, or at least have egg in the name in it, right? So I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I like that. Like egg pawns, or the egg hawk, or the egg albatross, or whatever. Like, basically. So I like that. But I just feel like the name Eggman is just a lot more memorable than just Robotnik and stuff. Which again, Robotnik's a cool name and whatnot. But I just think that Eggman is just the better name in my opinion. I just feel like that's just a lot more recognizable. That's a lot more easy to remember, and it's just like it's just everything. That's just how I prefer it. And it's not like I'm just taking everything into account that I just take everything the Japanese Sonic continuity as if I'm just taking it like well they're just giving it to me and I just take it with not with a grain of salt, but I just take it just because I'm like nah. Because if I was just taking anything from the Sonic games and stuff, then I would have been completely cool with like the meta error or how certain games like portray certain characters and stuff or whatever. But regardless, yeah. But yeah, personally myself, like I said, I prefer the name Dr. Eggman. I think it just sounds better and it's a lot more memorable. All right, so I'm going to go into the story aspect for both versions of Dr. Eggman, for the Satam version and the Sonic X version and whatnot. Just to get you like just familiar with the characters and whatnot in case you don't already know. But anyway, Satam Eggman basically, or Satam Robotnik. My bad, he never went by the name Eggman. So if I call him Eggman, that's just my mistake. But anyways, his name is originally he goes by the name Julian, and he served more so as a general to the king, which is Sally's dad, from the from Mobotropolis or the Acorn Kingdom for a while. Him and his nephew Snively, and secretly Julian here used to work under Nagus and stuff, who was an evil wizard and whatnot, until Eggman decided to, or my bad, Robotnik decided to betray him by sending him to the Zone of Silence and whatnot, and then pretty much he enacted his plan of using the roboticizer to turn everybody into mindless robotic slaves and whatnot, and basically running everybody out of town or turning them into robotic slaves, like I just said, and Mobotropolis, and then pretty much he renamed it Robotropolis, and then pretty much took over the rest of the world. So now he has all these like teenage freedom fighters and stuff going after his neck and stuff, trying to really take back their world, basically. So that's Dr. Robotnik inside Satam and whatnot. So basically, in there he has a nephew named Snively and stuff. Snively, Robotnik and stuff. I'm not really too much of a fan of Snively. But Snively is basically one of his second in command, his henchmen and whatnot. Basically Snively is, well, just like his name implies, he's a sniveling coward and whatnot. He's got this like very long nose. He's balding. He's got like small strands of hair left and whatnot, etc. You know who Snively is. But anyway, Snively is his nephew, and Eggman pretty much treats his nephew like crap and whatnot. He abuses him and pretty much just talks down to him and whatnot. Whenever just stuff like that. That's pretty much Satam Eggman, right? And then also, he does stuff like pollute the world, or he tries to just take over. He's like this whole evil tyrant, fascist, and whatnot. Yeah, that's Dr. Robotnik inside Satam. All right, next up we got Dr. Eggman from Sonic X. So, if you don't already know the story, basically Dr. Eggman comes from Chris's world originally and whatnot. But due to some kind of unknown circumstances, he ended up inside Sonic's world, where he pretty much spends most of his days just antagonizing the world and pretty much causing trouble for Sonic and whatnot. Basically, like basic kind of stuff. That's just Dr. Eggman. Personally, myself, I have a theory that I think that it might have been possible that, and this is just a theory, not official or anything like that, but my guess is that maybe Professor Gerald, Dr. Eggman's grandpa, might have sent him to Sonic's world, possibly and stuff, in order to protect him from the space colony arc colliding with the Earth. But that's just my theory. I don't know what the reason how Eggman ended up inside of Sonic's world, but that's just a small theory that I have. Regardless, though, Eggman's background pretty much, like I said, speaks volumes. He was pretty much inspired by his grandpa, Professor Gerald and stuff, who was the creator of the space colony arc and whatnot, and was a victim of GUN and whatnot, and their crimes and their shady organization and whatnot. So pretty much Dr. Eggman decided to play the opposite, where Professor Gerald wanted to use his science to help out other people and whatnot, whereas Eggman uses his science to help nobody else besides himself, pretty much. So that's how Eggman gets down. So yeah, that's just the story of Dr. Eggman. One, a very short, simple one. That's about it.
At As a child, I looked up to my grandfather because of all the great things he accomplished in his life. He was my hero, and I wanted to be a great scientist like him. But did he really mean to destroy us?
I don't know, but what I do know is we all did it together!
You're right.
Can you hear me? This might be the last chance I have to speak to you, so what I said about having created you, it was all a lie. Everyone died during that horrible incident, but I rescued you with one of my robots. You lost your memory, that's all. You really are the ultimate life form my grandfather created.
Alright, so you're probably wondering, why do I think Dr. Eggman is more unique or a better character than Dr. Robotnik from Satam? So, okay, so honestly, in my opinion, I feel like Satam Eggman, don't get me wrong, he is definitely one of the most evil versions of Eggman, but, excuse me, I guess if you were to ask me personally, who do I think is the most evil version of Eggman, it's probably Fleetway Eggman. Fleetway Eggman is very serious, probably the most evil version of Eggman of the character, the most evil incarnation, if you were to ask me, followed up by either Satam or the Archie comics. Archie comics' Eggman was pretty evil too, but Satam's on it, yeah, he's pretty much, well, Archie is based off of Satam, so yeah, Eggman are definitely up there, but I feel like Eggman shouldn't be necessarily like characterized for just being evil or whatever, or being cutthroat, because I just feel like that's what makes Satam Eggman, in my opinion, a little generic. I mean, yeah, again, Satam, a lot of people love Satam mainly because it's a cool underdog type of story where basically the heroes live inside the villain's shadow. The villain is like, you know, rising on top of the world and everybody has to like rebel against the villain and whatnot to retake the world. But that's the thing though, like with, you know, what I'm saying with Sonic, like with stories like Sonic Satam or the Archie comics and stuff like that, people want this, they want to like recycle this story. And I'm just like, bro, it's been done a bazillion times, and the reason why I keep saying it's been done a bazillion times is because it's kind of already been resolved in some ways or another, or there's no like, you know, it's like, yeah. But point is, what I'm trying to say about Dr. Eggman, however, is that Dr. Robotnik from Satam, that Dr. Robotnik, he's very generic. He's basically, you know, he plays all the stereotypes of what it's like to be a villain. Now, he is voiced by the amazing Jim Cummings and stuff, a legendary voice actor. Not gonna lie to you there, he's amazing. Hell, even Mike Pollock was giving Jim Cummings props. He was like, yo, I just remember back in the day, yeah, like Mike Pollock was like, yo, I remember back in the day that Jim Cummings voiced Dr. Eggman, and I'm just glad I'm sharing a role just like him. It's an honor. That's what Mike Pollock had said himself one time in an interview. But regardless, though, yeah, so I'm not saying like, oh, well, you know, Satam Eggman is crap or anything. But I'm just saying he pretty much plays all the stereotypes. He's a very generic villain. Like, for example, like, okay, the obvious betrayal stuff, he takes over the world, he doesn't really have much of a motive, he doesn't have much of a character outside of just, you know, being evil and disgusting and whatnot. I mean, remember, oh, Snively, what is the color of my heart? And whatnot. Again, good scene, proves that he is super evil and he's very boss, but that's about it. Now, like I said with the Shredder from the TMNT video, now, the Shredder is just cutthroat, and he's ruthless. He's supposed to be that way. And I don't think Shredder should at all be a redeemable character. He's irredeemable. Now, Dr. Eggman, I feel like, well, at least depending on which version. If we're talking like Sonic X or Sonic Boom, then yeah, I think Eggman is definitely a redeemable character. Or in the games and stuff, yeah, I think Eggman's a redeemable character. I don't think he's done enough, really, where it's like, yeah, and I don't think Eggman will really cross those lines. Which, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes him a unique villain. That he wouldn't cross those borders and whatnot. So I'm going to talk about that up next. Alright, so I'm going to talk about share some of my favorite moments of Eggman and stuff from Sonic X and whatnot. Just to kind of give you the kind of idea of what kind of character he is and why I think that Eggman should be portrayed this way versus being portrayed like, you know, Satam and whatnot. So here are some moments from Sonic X. Alright, so I think Eggman's actually a pretty funny character. He's supposed to be a goofball, you know, he's supposed to be a little goofy. I wouldn't say he's supposed to be, like, goofy to the extent where he's like, well, Sonic Boom Eggman actually like him too. He's pretty cool, pretty decent character and whatnot. But I don't think Eggman should really be on that level of like Goofy where he's like not taken seriously at all, but at least somewhat of a balance, you know. And that's just how he's come across. Like even like Jim Carrey, for example. Like a lot of people were like really happy, or not happy. A lot of people were like really just questioning why they cast Jim Carrey to play as Dr. Eggman. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard Jim Carrey was playing as Dr. Eggman, I was like, well, Jim Carrey is not my first choice, but I think he can actually pull it off, and he did. Like everybody was like, yeah, he pulled it off. I was like, yes. See, I told you. Because the thing is, like Jim Carrey's good at playing like those cheesy '90s type of characters. You know, like I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Batman Forever, but I actually liked. Well, I know it's childhood nostalgia movie and whatnot for me, but Batman Forever though, I like Jim Carrey as the Riddler. He was pretty funny, or The Mask and stuff. I love The Mask. Or well, a lot of people, of course, The Grinch is a classic. So yeah. So I mean, he's played like a lot of '90s characters and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, and Eggman's definitely like one of those kind of characters. I'm like, yeah, he could definitely pull it off. Again, not my first choice visually, but yeah, he nailed the role. So yeah, so definitely Eggman's definitely funny inside Sonic X. I feel like one of his funniest moments that just makes me just like, oh my god, was definitely the last episode of Sonic X where basically Eggman's like shutting down the space station and stuff, and him and Rouge are having a conversation, and Rouge is like, do you ever think that do you think Shadow's alive, or do you ever think he would make his way back to their planet? And Eggman zones out and ends up saying that Rouge has some really large boobs and stuff, and then pretty much they cut away to Eggman getting slapped by Rouge, and then Rouge leaving the ship. So yeah, so I'm saying, yeah, Eggman's supposed to be funny, you know? Right. And then next up, I think another highlight about Eggman's character is his treatment towards Bo-Kun. Now, a lot of people may not realize this, but Bo-Kun, you already know. If you don't know who Bo-Kun is basically the messenger robo, or the messenger robot, and whatnot that delivers like Sonic those like messages and stuff. That's usually from Eggman inside Sonic X. It definitely would be cool to see Bo-Kun again. I think he definitely is a good character that should definitely return and whatnot. But Bo-Kun, personally myself, like, okay, I never really liked Bo-Kun much back when I was younger. I just didn't think he was like really all that. But when I started like rewatching, like when I started watching the sub last year, I started thinking, you know, Bo-Kun's actually pretty cool, or pretty decent. Like not cool, but he's pretty decent, you know. I actually liked his relationship with Eggman and stuff, which is kind of like, you know, like Eggman pretty much, compared to his other robots and stuff, I gotta say, Eggman really spoiled Bo-Kun, or he treated him more so like a son. And I actually kind of like that. I mean, that's definitely much more preferable than, Eggman mistreating and abusing Snively and stuff and whatnot. And then, yeah, it's way much more better than that. Because you kind of see this more, I guess, decent side of Eggman, despite him being the villain. You know, you see this more tender side, I guess. And I actually remember in some interviews, like some actors, like Chikao Otsuka. Sorry, I probably mispronounced his name, but Chikao Otsuka. He was the former voice of Dr. Eggman. He voiced Eggman in the games and inside Sonic X. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2015. But yeah, he was saying that one of his favorite moments was like definitely of like Eggman, and then where he was just showing more of his kinder side, and even Mike Pollock was saying the same thing. So yeah, Eggman's somewhat of a decent person. I'm not saying he ain't no saint, but he at least has some kind of good within him, and he treats Bo-Kun like his own son, and I like that. Stuff like him jogging with Bo-Kun, making sure he gets some exercise, or him cooking for Bo-Kun. Yeah, I think Eggman acts like a, I like how he acts like a dad to Bo-Kun and whatnot. He definitely favors him over most of his other robots, that's for damn sure. And then next up we got Eggman lecturing Chris. Now, I know a lot of fans, trust me, a lot of fans don't like Chris that much. Personally myself, I actually like Chris. Chris is probably up in my top 12 favorite Sonic characters. Favorite Sonic characters. I might actually tell you that list because I kind of made one recently. But anyways, a lot of people love this moment where Dr. Eggman was talking down to Chris, telling him that basically he's dependent too much on Sonic and stuff, and that basically he's being in total denial by coming up with this whole narrative that basically he's just that Dr. Eggman himself is fabricating this whole thing just so he can get Sonic and the others to go, so he can take over the world and whatnot. So yeah. But pretty much though, I mean, it showed you like when Dr. Eggman was just letting Chris off the hook, he didn't decide to just pursue him or hold him for as a hostage to get to Sonic or anything. No, he showed a more compassionate side. He was telling Chris, look, giving them that talk, like real talk. Look, I got nothing to do with this, Chris. This is all a part of growing up. You just gotta face facts, basically. And then Chris later on gives Eggman the same talk, this Uno reverse talk to him later inside season 3, where he's like, yeah, Eggman, I actually did take your advice. I actually did grow up. And then pretty much Chris kind of served everybody there, which was pretty awesome. But anyways, but here, yeah, Eggman got over on Chris in episode 49. All right, next up, obviously Eggman blowing up the moon like he did inside Sonic Adventures 2 and stuff. That was a pretty hardcore moment. What's even funnier, actually, is after the fact that Eggman had blew up the moon, right? In the Egg Moon saga, remember Eggman had actually rebuilt the moon, and he actually did that in like 10 minutes. So that definitely does show you his intelligence and his resources and whatnot, which definitely should probably put you over Satam Eggman, if not. But yeah. And not to mention, Eggman blowing up the moon was obviously made so he can threaten it, so he can kind of threaten, like, the Earth and whatnot to, give themselves up to him and whatnot. Of course, Eggman wasn't going to really use this. Well, he was going to use it, but he wasn't, he was, of course, making demands and whatnot, That's what he was doing to get what he wants. So, yeah, that's completely, fine. That's cool. And then next up, number 6, we have Eggman saving Sonic's life. This is from episode 53. So basically, when Sonic was fighting Dark Oak and whatnot, they pretty much fought into a stalemate. Sonic had to throw away the Chaos Emeralds and stuff to avoid having Dark Oak to avoid Dark Oak from getting them. So he pretty much ended up on Eggman's front lawn, and Eggman was like, "All right, I can't have you dying, in front of my lawn, so I'm gonna take you in and I'm gonna help you recover and whatnot." So basically, Sonic recuperates, and he's like, "Oh." And Eggman's like, I only did that because I just wanted to rub it in your face that I saved your life, by the way. So yeah, stuff like that. That makes, again, this version of Eggman unique as a character, right? Because what villain do you know, how many villains do you know would actually do something like that? Not too many. And whatnot, showing some kind of compassion or something to their enemy, just like that. Again, I'm saying, Eggman doesn't necessarily hate Sonic like that. He just, he's just a part of his soul is just ignited from their rivalry, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Alright, so anyways, next up we got Eggman and Sonic forging a truce. So, this is from episode 39. This is about the Teen Chaotix and stuff. So, pretty much, in a subplot, basically Sonic ends up meeting with Dr. Eggman, and they both just have a little bit of a sit-down talk and stuff. Have just a little simple truce, and this is right after Eggman had rebuilt the moon and stuff in less than 10 minutes. I'm like, wow, this man rebuilt half the moon in 10 minutes. Yep. But anyways, but regardless though, that isn't besides the point. So basically, Eggman and Sonic are just talking and stuff, and Eggman's telling Sonic that he just see Sonic is because eventually this is around the time when they had to go back around to back to their own world, and they had to leave Chris's world behind. And Sonic wasn't exactly ready to go back either. He was like, it can all work out, it's it's all good. And Eggman was like, you're just lying to yourself, Sonic. I see right through you. You're just being in total denial and whatnot, and yeah, etc. So Sonic kind of gets a little defensive there and is like, well, what about you? You're being an old man all of a sudden. And then that's when Cream's mom shows up, Vanilla. And Sonic takes Vanilla back to What's-His-Face to meet Cream. So definitely a pretty interesting and a pretty good episode, if you ask me. So I love that chill moment between Sonic and Eggman, though. Definitely those shots and stuff, because you have the whole series started off with those two, and they're just having this whole sit down talk. No battle, no action, none of that stuff. Is just simple, just a human conversation. So, anyways, next up we have Eggman losing to his own ego, I like to call it. So, basically in episode 41, so this is a little bit after episode, of course, 39, what I was talking about with the truce. But basically, so Eggman had that whole plot where he rebuilt half the moon, but he was kind of using these devices to try and brainwash people into serving him and whatnot, pretty much. To make them think, oh yeah, to think, oh, say oh yeah, Eggman's cool and whatnot. And now Eggman's the new protagonist of Sonic X. Actually, no, it's not even called Sonic X anymore. It's called Eggman X, actually. Etc. Yes, I don't know if you notice something about Sonic X. Eggman really envies Sonic's role. He wants Sonic's spot as the main character. Um, and this is where I want to bring up the fact that he was defeated by his own ego. So basically, after Sonic kind of blew his whole scheme out the water, Eggman was ready to dip from the cops and stuff, and then pretty much he ran into Sonic and friends. So they all put him to these questions and stuff that he got answered correctly. And so he bumped into Sonic, and Sonic was like, "All right, I got this really easy question for you that I know Eggman's gonna choose." So here's the question. So basically, the question is, who's the main character of Sonic X, right? Well, in the English dub, if you watch the English dub, then it's who's cooler, Sonic or Eggman? But this is a fourth wall breaking question. Who's the main character here? And it's either Eggman or Sonic, and obviously we know it's Sonic, but Eggman's hubris and his ego couldn't allow it, so he chose himself, of course. And then next thing you know, this man ended up arrested. Not some not some big boss battle, none of that stuff. Not no final just them squaring off. Nope. Eggman defeated by his own ego. That to me is probably the best way to defeat Dr. Eggman, or defeat him. Like, yeah, he basically defeated himself. He's his own worst enemy, basically. So, yeah, I love that. It's kind of poetic in a way. But, yeah. And then my other favorite moment, I guess, is definitely Eggman trapping Sonic, like he did inside Sonic Adventures 2 and whatnot. He trapped Sonic in that capsule and almost blew him up. And like, and afterwards, like, yeah, sure, Eggman, he tried to blow up Sonic and whatnot. But he was giving him his props, saying, "You were my admiral enemy," and whatnot. It's been a blast, Sonic, but I got to take over a world, man. So, yeah. And then, let's see. Then there's also the fact there was this episode, episode 71. That's actually one of my other favorite episodes of Dr. Eggman, where Eggman actually went out of his way back in the Meta-Rex saga to actually save Sonic and his friends. Because, basically, long story short, Eggman teamed up with the Meta-Rex, and pretty much they were working against Sonic and Co. And pretty much Sonic and the others were kind of up against a fence, right? So Eggman kind of knew that they were on this planet and the Chaotix were just helping them out. So basically, of course, Eggman could have just trampled them with his resources and the Meta-Rex, and he could have just like, yeah, Sonic's on this planet. You can probably just get him now. But Eggman was being very lenient. Hell, he actually helped them escape and whatnot. And everything. I actually like that, and him and Vector shared a nice scene where he just came in and got a drink and stuff, and Vector was like, just put it on his tab. And usually Vector doesn't like really give people just tabs unless he's like, unless he's like friends with them or he's cool with them, So, yeah, that's definitely like, what he did for Eggman and what Eggman had did for Sonic and whatnot. He helped save their friends and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty awesome. I mean, hell, he could have just as easily had Sonic out the picture here. But instead, no, he chose, hey, look, I gotta help save Sonic and whatnot. I know we have our differences. I know he's a pain in my side, but these Meta-Rex guys, they're no joke. Yeah, and then my favorite moment out of all of Sonic X is when Eggman came in. This is from episode 67. This is where, if you don't know what episode 67 is, that's the episode where Sonic went all dark Sonic and stuff. Because Black Narcissus, one of the Meta-Rex bosses and stuff, came up here. He pretty much captured Chris and Cosmo, had Cosmo scared for her life, pretty much beat the hell out of Chris and whatnot, and Sonic's like, "What did you do?" And Black Narcissus is all like, "Well, obviously, like Cosmo should be scared, and Chris, well, he had to be taught a lesson. He tried to resist," and then Sonic was like pissed the fuck off. That was probably one of the most angriest moments I've ever seen Sonic and whatnot. That's probably a very justifiable reason for him to like lose his cool and whatnot, So Sonic is like, all right, you really want to test me like that? All right, I got you. So Sonic out here blowing through his robots and stuff, and then Eggman shows up and is telling Sonic to chill and whatnot. You better watch that temper and stuff, because I don't know, maybe someday you might just end up like Shadow or something. And Sonic ends up taking his advice, and then afterwards, Eggman starts to humiliate Black Narcissus. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So that's what I'm saying. Like, those are some things that I think that makes Eggman like such a unique character inside Sonic X. That is, compared to like Sonic Sat M, where he didn't really have too many of these kind of moments that made him just stand out as a character. All right, so a lot of fans like to make fun of this one scene, or they like to make fun of that scene that I mentioned with him coming in there and humiliating Black Narcissus when Eggman says it's one thing to capture or it's one thing to kidnap somebody, but when you torture or when you really hurt somebody, it's you're going overboard. Because the thing about Dr. Eggman is that yeah, even though he like kidnaps people and stuff, and yeah, he has tried to kill Sonic and his friends on multiple occasions, but Eggman's not the kind of guy that enjoys like needless or unnecessary killing and bloodshed and all that stuff or whatever. I mean, he's a scientist. Like he ain't trying to like, destroy the planet. He's not trying to kill people or anything like that. I mean, unless you get in his way, you're really like, then oh well. But other than that, yeah, Eggman, he's not this cold-blooded cutthroat killer. He's not like, oh, like this very generic villain or whatever. I mean, yeah, Eggman will betray you and whatnot. He will sell you out, or not sell you out, but he'll betray you and whatnot, or whatever. Or if it's like, okay, well, if your goal is kind of aligned with his, then I guess he has no choice but to work with him like they did against the Meta-Rex or they did with the Space Colony arc. Then it's fair game, I guess. But other than that, yeah, I think Eggman's a decent character and whatnot. I feel like these things about him, and like him showing these kind of like simple things like, oh, he shows compassion towards like Sonic and his friends from time to time, or he's trying to beat them into submission really rather than kill them and stuff, like, because even in the games and stuff, like if you notice, like in for example Sonic Adventures 2, Eggman always gives like a warning to like Tails or something, to split town or give up the Chaos Emerald and I would just spare your life or something like that, or if you stop meddling with me now, then I might just let you live. That's basically Dr. Eggman. So yeah, I'm not saying like, again, Eggman's no saint or anything, but I'm saying these things right here add some layers to his character, especially like his whole history with his grandpa and stuff, that he idolizes his grandpa and that's what like, motivated him to become a scientist just like him. And I feel like, like pretty much Professor Gerald and Dr. Eggman are both like yin and yang, right? Where, yeah, like I said before, Professor Gerald had used his science to try and help out other people. But in the end of the day, Professor Gerald had tried to use his science to destroy all of humanity out of revenge and stuff because he went crazy. As for Dr. Eggman started out just using his science mainly for himself. But who knows, maybe someday he can probably just use it to maybe help out others. And there have been some versions of Dr. Eggman where he has like been friends with Sonic, or he's shown a more compassionate side, like Dr. Kentober and stuff, basically. Hey, so I wanted to add one more line of dialogue and stuff to this topic. Pretty much, I thought there was two pretty good and interesting moments that I kind of left out accidentally, but some pretty interesting moments. Like the first being is the fact that Eggman actually helped Chris get back to his world and stuff in the final episode and whatnot. Yeah, I thought that was pretty big for Dr. Eggman and stuff. He actually helped out Chris. And I know he was teasing Chris with the fact that he wasn't sure if Chris was going to be all old or if he was going to be all young as he is or whatever, getting back home, or he wasn't really completely sure of the results. But pretty much Eggman was taking a shot at Sonic and stuff by getting Chris to go home without saying goodbye to his friends. But still, indirectly though, Eggman offered Chris help. And yeah, and Chris took it and whatnot. Fortunately, yeah, Chris wasn't able to say goodbye to his friends and left on a whim. But hey, at least Sonic was able to say his goodbyes for him and whatnot, And it was pretty nice. It was a good ending and whatnot. It definitely get a send off. And then the other moment I definitely want to mention was Eggman when he was pep talking Tails and stuff into shooting at Cosmo and the Meta-Rex and stuff, shooting at Cosmo and Final Mova and whatnot, because Cosmo had sacrificed herself to try and weaken Final Mova in the end, and then eventually it was up to Tails to use the Sonic Driver to try and defeat him one last time. So when Tails was really hesitant on pulling the trigger and stuff, Eggman was pep talking Tails, telling him, "Hey, look, I know it's hard for you to do this and whatnot, but you have to do it. The entire universe is counting on you," and Tails took it. So yeah, so those are some pretty genuine, pretty sincere moments from Dr. Eggman and whatnot that I wanted to mention. And that's what I'm saying, that makes him a good character. This is probably, like, to me, again, this is like one of the best versions of Dr. Eggman and whatnot, because we see his more human side, and he's just more, just, yeah, a lot more sincere. So that's all I wanted to say on this topic. So that's all I wanted to say there on Dr. Eggman's character from Sonic X and whatnot, compared to like Satam. So if you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and whatnot. I'll be definitely making more videos on why Sonic X is better than Satam and whatnot. Still taking shots at some of those Satam stands that say otherwise. But again, I mean, if you like Satam, that's cool. I like Satam. I'm not like a huge fan of it, but I like it. I think it's cool. I like some of the fan project and whatnot. I don't have anything against Archie comics like some people insinuate, like, a certain YouTuber. But anyways, that's my runtime here. So I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe. This is Keenus Fox, and I am out. Peace.